What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Have you ever found yourself wishing that your 35XX-H just had a little bit more personality because you love the device, but you just want it to stand out a little bit? Well, you've come to the right place because today we're going to give this 35XX-H a makeover. Along with that, we're also going to do some pro upgrades in creating what I'm calling the 35XX-H Pro. So let's take a look. Let's get the brains fixed in this pretty little lady before we make her pretty. Do yourself a favor, go to your search bar and type in RG35XX-H CFW for custom firmware. Scroll down, you're going to see a GitHub that says releases, custom firmware. This is going to be for a Batocera build. I actually stopped running this a while ago because it was just so not ready yet. And I haven't tried it yet here with the new one, but we're going to give it a shot today because it will make it look pretty for you. Hopefully everything is working on there. But if nothing else, keep this in your back pocket. Keep this card in your back pocket. I believe you only need actually 8 gigs for this versus 64 that you would need for an Android build through Anbernic. But I would recommend using at least a 16 gig card. It's usually good to do double what they ask for. So I would recommend using a 16 gig card. You can actually go back afterwards and change the partitions and throw some games on that card too if you want to. You also do need to run a new memory card anyways. The ones that come with these things suck. Just a word to the wise. I will put a link down in my thingamabob for you. All right, so now that you got that, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. I want to put a screenshot up for you of what you're looking for. It says assets under contributors, and you're going to download the image that says Batocera H535XX-H plus 39. It doesn't matter if you have an H or a plus, it's a dual build. It will work on both of them. Once you get that done, you can either drag it to your desktop or just do extract here. Okay, so you're just going to right click on it, go down to show more options. Apparently I can't take a screenshot of it, but go up to your zip file, whatever that is. I'm just going to extract it to a folder under its same name right here on my desktop. All right, and I also did move over Rufus. If you don't have Rufus or Bella Etcher would work with this as well. You can use either one, or if you have any other WinRite program. It doesn't tell us any specific one to use, so we're going to try doing this with Rufus, but I'm sure it's going to work. All right, so you just want to use Rufus here. It's on the desktop right here. We're now going to take a memory card. We're going to put it into our card reader so that we can write this to the card. We have that in there. It's a brand new, fresh card. We are going to open up Rufus. I can throw a link to Rufus down in the description as well. Going to open up like the picture I'm now putting up on your screen. All right, so you see this right here. Now you're going to see where it says no label. That's your card. If that's not the right card, scroll through that top to find the right card. You are writing a disk ISO image, and you need to select where it's from, where it's hiding. Mine happens to be hiding on the desktop, so I click on that, and I go to my desktop. So you can see it right there on my desktop. We're going to click on it. I'm going to open it up. You are going to see an image file in there. You are going to select that image file, hit open. Now you should have a screen that looks like this. If it doesn't look like this, we got a problem. But what you should be seeing is your Batocera image right there under no label. Then you'll see your volume, how big it is. It's going to do it in a FAT32, and you're going to hit the start button. Rufus doesn't actually tell you really when it's complete. You'll just see another start button next to it. So you're just going to take and you're going to click close. Now you have your image on your memory card. So now we got the brains for the operation. So now you're going to want to safely eject your memory card because you don't want to corrupt it. And you're going to take that memory card, you're going to put it somewhere safe because we are going to use that memory card in a little bit. So I'm just going to put it right back here into this case. So that takes care of the future brains of the operation. So we'll have that taken care of. The reason why we're waiting to put the brains in is because I want to make sure everything works. It's easier to troubleshoot using the stock OS because we already know it works, where the other software is on beta. So some things are still not going to work correctly. We want to make sure that we're not causing any more issues and just not recognizing it. So keep that memory card safe, and we're moving right along. So it is time to start pulling this bad boy apart. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the things we're going to put in here. I haven't chosen a color yet, so on my community page, I'll throw up a vote. And if you want to go in and vote, I will change the color if I get more votes. If I agree. Originally, I wanted red buttons for this. I couldn't decide, but I really kind of wanted red. It's the only color I've never actually put on a device before. I've done all the other colors, but they were nice enough over at CloudLife. They got me hooked up so I can make some decisions here. I also have some multicolor buttons for our start and select. And then when it comes to the face buttons, we are going to use some Sakura mods buttons, and we are going to go full on PlayStation with this bad boy. Go with our D-pad and start and select button. But wait, there's more. We got the brains, but we are going to need the bronze. So we're going to throw GuliKit Hall Effect joysticks in here. That way we don't ever have to worry about stick drift, and we can just use that beauty of a Hall Effect joystick. Gili makes some of my favorite ones. This is not sponsored by them, but I do buy them in like bulk from Gili for some of my devices. I love swapping these things out. So now you know the ingredients for building the RG35XX-H Pro. Follow along and we will build this thing together. I've actually never opened a 35XX-H before, so it should be a good time. Let's get started by grabbing our mat.
What's up, Internet? Retro Baby here. Promise you that I am working very diligently. See, look at me type.
All right, now that we got our mat set up, we are going to take this bad boy apart. But before we can do that, we need to make sure there are no memory cards in here. You have a possibility of corrupting the data, and also sometimes they just get in the way. We'll get those out of there. Put those somewhere nice and easy to remember. I'm sure I'll forget. I usually do when we do these builds. I do have my tools out that I'm probably going to use here for this build. One thing that is nice though is when you order the GuliKits, they actually do typically come with everything you're going to need. So you have your screwdrivers, which are a T and a Y, I believe. T and a Y 1.5, T 1.5, Y 1.5, with extra screws. So if you lose any, you got your little smudging tool thing to open stuff up, and then it actually even comes with little caps, which I don't know if they will fit in here or not because this is pretty close to the edge, and I think we're probably gonna get a little closer to the edge by the time we're done here. So let's take a look. Back here, it's all done by 4 screws. Like I said before, I haven't actually taken this particular one apart before, so this will be a first for me, but that's okay. We will take it apart and we will put it back together again. Probably some time here where I won't be talking. I'm probably just gonna let the video play through so that we can actually get everything on. I will point out the things that you need, but I'm a pretty boring person to listen to. Well, that didn't take long because I just realized while editing an over 2-hour, almost 3-hour video of me having a conversation with myself, I felt like Matt Damon in the movie Martian. So what we're going to do here real quick is we're going to remove the back, use your smudging tool, and just smudge away. If you need help and you're having a hard time getting a good seam to get in there, start by the shoulder buttons. It's kind of a trick that we all use. It's good to start by the shoulder buttons because there's a seam there actually. So if you can hit that with the smudging tool, it'll pop right open. I didn't need to on this device, which is weird for one that hasn't been opened a bunch of times, but it is possible if it all like that, so give it a shot. Try it from anywhere, and if it doesn't work, then do that. Now, be careful when you're removing that battery. As you saw, there is a pin there, so you want to be real careful with that. Make sure that you're not breaking that wire. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove the shoulder buttons, and they're really loose, so no springs or anything in these ones, which is nice, so they come right out. Then we're going to take out these speakers. Now, the speakers aren't even screwed in. They're just kind of magnetic. To the top of, or to the bottom, I guess, of the joysticks. So we're going to take those, and then you also are going to have to unplug those. Those are going to use the same plug style as the battery did. So pretty easy. I recommend using ceramic tweezers like I'm using here. Reason being is you are less likely to electrocute yourself. Unless you do what I just did there and hold the tweezers backward, and then that other side's metal, so I guess that would kind of defeat the purpose. I didn't realize I did that until just now. Next, after we get these speakers out of here, so yeah, just taking a look at that plug that went in there. All right, so now that we're done removing the speakers, we're gonna take a look at all these screws here on the board. There's a lot of screws on this board, but before we can take those out, we're gonna need to remove the screws in the joysticks. So to do that, first we need to remove the ribbon cables, and there's a little black flap down there that you have to flip. And I'll zoom into it here on the next one, but you have to flip it, and then you have to just pull the ribbon cable comes popping right out. It's barely even in there. Without the little flippy thing, it wouldn't be in there at all. So if you look at this, you got a little flippy thing, just flip it, whoop, and then you're gonna pull that ribbon cable right out of there. Perfect. Boy, look at that H700 just glowing in the middle. All right, so we're gonna remove, there's 2 screws per joystick. We're gonna get these out of here, so get those out. Just gently pull the joysticks out once you get the screws out. I know you can't hear it, but right now there's a noise going on. Well, not right now, but while it was happening with the screwdriver. Never mind, that was stupid. All right, so you repeat that on the other side, like I said. And after we get these joysticks out of here, then we are going to remove that main board. And we're gonna tackle that plethora of screws that we saw all over the place. Keep these separate, just like the other ones. Keep all your screws separate because none of these actually do fit each other's holes in this particular project, but in a lot of these projects, they will have different screw heads, but use the same hole. I was making a joke there about a dime bag full of screws or something. I don't know. You missed it, I missed it. The punchline must have sucked because I didn't even add the audio back in here. All right, now give it a little shake. Now, we are going to find that the main board is actually attached to the screen, and this is typical amongst retro handhelds. They're usually attached on either side of it. It kind of just depends on how the board's laid out. To get this off, same as it was for the ribbon cables on the joysticks, there's the little black thing. This one's a little bigger. I just showed you how to kind of take it off, and then you would just pull that ribbon cable out. I chose to leave it on. Not smart, but I did choose to leave it on. Now, you're going to need to start pulling stuff out of here. Now, when you opened up this and took the board off, likely your power and volume buttons fell off, and that's the first thing I was tackling there. Now we're going to get all the rest of the buttons out here, take these membranes off. I like to keep them on their respective sides. It really doesn't matter, they're exactly the same, but you know, it's nice to keep them on their respective sides. Some devices, they actually are different, so just because you have a D-pad, you know, and then you just have face buttons. So you could potentially have different membranes. So now I'm just to myself showing off my buttons and having a conversation with myself about what looks best on here, trying to compare it to my RG35XX-H Plus. Now I'm just washing off everything. The buttons did come with a alcohol swipe, so what you want to do is just, even though this is a new device, you want to wash everything off. Make sure you don't get any debris inside of the handheld. Reason being is it'll just prevent contact with these buttons. So you can put all these buttons in and they won't get contact. Now I start off by putting in my start and select buttons. Not a bad move. You could probably put them in last. They could fall out, or at least the rubber membranes could fall off as you're testing out all these other buttons and you continue to hold it up. They don't hold in super tight, so you might want to wait to get those till right before you put the volume buttons back in. Alright, and then we're just finishing up just with these membranes here. So all you gotta do is there's 4 corners on here that have little holes. Just poke them right into the little holes and you're good to go. Alright, now here I am putting the function button back in here, which is also a floating button. This one has like rubber on it so it doesn't fall out. It was just a little stressful getting the power and volume buttons in there. It took me a couple of tries, so if you don't get on the first try, just take your time. You'll get it. It'll go through. Then once you get all the buttons in, hold the board in tight, make sure everything is lining up, hit all the buttons, make sure everything feels good. And then you're gonna just kind of do like a Torx tightening. Don't tighten these down all the way, and do a couple of screws across from each other while putting the board back on. And if you miss that there, when putting the board on, you want to go with this USBs first, because they have to fit within the frame. So if you see now, I just pulled it back a little bit because those USBs weren't actually fitting in the frame. So I had one screw down, but it wasn't lining up the rest of the holes. And this is why we do them on opposite sides of the board. You're most likely going to run into an issue crosswise than you are right next to each other. All right, and now we are cooking with fire. All right, and I'm gonna go through here with my electric screwdriver and get everything taken care of here. Like a little NASCAR team over here at 800 times, I think is what this is at. It might be 600 times, I'm not sure. It's one of the two. All right, and then everything's gonna line up perfectly on these switch sticks. So we're doing switch sticks to switch sticks. So both these Hall sticks are made for a switch, and so they match up perfectly. Now you could take this opportunity and just get the ribbon cables bent and everything so they match the ones that you took out, which is what I did here. One thing I did miss here, and I didn't realize this, I've never seen this on a handheld of any or any controller before. There's like stickers around the thumbsticks for the factory thumbsticks, and those stickers need to transfer over, otherwise you get light bleed. And this is me discovering that there was light bleed, and I couldn't figure it out. So then I tried all kinds of things, like stuff the speaker in there and stuff, before I figured out, oh, there's this plastic sticker, and it sticks out, I don't know, a couple millimeters on each side, and it's just enough to cover the additional in that hole, so the light doesn't come through. Which is probably good if you get crumbs or anything in there too. It would probably prevent those from going in, because that sticker does hold tight against the body. So pretty cool. I've never seen that before. Now, putting these ribbon cables on the joysticks sucks when you're trying to plug them back in. So while I was putting the sticker back on that one, I didn't even unplug it again because it took me forever to get it in there. And I figured out that it was because I was holding these things in front of myself, so I couldn't see what I was doing, so I could try to record it. And as soon as I held that up to my face, I could see exactly what I was doing. So I'm thinking you're not going to run into the issues that I ran into. It's your first time doing it, maybe, but you shouldn't have any issues. But those ribbon cables do really kind of suck. And once you get these joysticks in, so we got to swap over the one on the other joystick as well. If you missed it, I will throw a link down in my thingamabob here for you. Starting Sunday, there's a St. Patrick's Day sale. So these devices are going to be on sale for about a week. I will leave a link to it down on my thingamabob. I've got probably got a code or something for you too. I'll take a look in my emails. I saw that come through here, and I just haven't had a chance to actually read it. But I did see, I believe this device might be even going for $55. Don't quote me on that, but I think it might be for like the next week. But again, I'll have a link down below. Just struggling to get that stupid thing in there. All right. We're just about done with these Hall sticks, so we are going to have to prepare to get these speakers back in, and then obviously the battery. So we get to do the wonderful game of trying to plug these tiny little plugs back together. Not the worst thing, but not the best either. My recommendation is just kind of get them lined up with your tweezers, and so that you get the left and right side in, so it's still square, and then go through the top and just squeeze it together. But do it really gently. It should just, if it doesn't go in gently, it's not going to go in, but it goes in usually pretty good. So you can see there, I'm just tightening it, making sure everything's in. Don't want to have any bad distorted music or anything like that. Hate to be in my Mio Mini that I've had to put new speakers in. Good times. Actually, it's a really easy project, but still, it just seems weird that you have to put a new speaker, and it's still a tiny little speaker. This is me realizing that these are held together by the magnets on against the bottom of the joysticks. All right, we're going to plug this one in here real quick. Of course, I'm going to struggle with it. Whoopsies. All right, there we go. So now we're going to tighten her up, and then this speaker just fell in. Didn't come back out, so everything's sitting flat, flush. Test all your buttons before you put that back on. All right, we got these shoulder buttons back on. They do stack up. Hopefully you know your left from your right, and just remember you're upside down and backward with the way that this is sitting there. And after this, we just got to screw with that ribbon cable there real quick for the battery. So we're going to pop that in. And it's kind of a weird way to see it. So this, I would almost guarantee you I recommend tweezers for at least the reinstallation of it. It's really, I don't know, unless you got some really skinny fingers, I just feel like it'd be really hard to do with your fingers. Once you have that in there, make sure everything's lined up, and then you have clips around the case. So push the clips in. I believe I started on the bottom. I can't remember, but one side will clip in easily, and the other side will have some resistance. So clip in the side that's easy first, because that'll pull it away, and get the side that has resistance to come in. Once you get that done, you know, just lightly get those screws in there again, kind of do the Torx idea. And once you get these tightened, once again, you back them off about a 1/16 of a turn. Just make sure they're not over tightened in the system, because otherwise you're putting a lot of stress against everything, because you're trying to pull everything together. And they're just not made for that. And then once you get this these screws on here, we're gonna give her a shot and fire her up with the stock memory card. Hopefully you didn't lose the one that you just wrote while we were talking here, but we're gonna need that stock memory card just to make sure all the sticks and everything are working, sticks, buttons, everything. We can use that config and just make sure everything's good to go. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that hits the function button thinking that it is the power button, but if you missed that, I just did that. All right, so here's our memory cards. We're going to throw them in. On your left side is the side that you put your operating system in. That's the TF1. Cards do go in upside down. Always drives me nuts. Really hurts the OCD a little bit. I don't have fingernails, so I have a hell of a time getting these cards in any of these devices. Sometimes I use a card to push in a card. Gets a little out of hand, but okay, so we'll get our cards in there. We'll get her loaded up. My Anbernic has made a lot of changes to their operating system as of recently, which we've never really seen before, and so they're trying to hold, but this whole like flash into Google Drive things, it's really hard to get things updated. So going forward, it would be nice to see them just do regular over-the-air updates, but they would need to do another physical update first because it's not built into the software. But it is the best looking Anbernic system, so I complained a lot about this when I did my first review because I really didn't like it. And now that I've used a lot of the third parties, now granted some are in beta, some are in alpha, so they got a ways to go, I think. But I'm just not impressed. We're going to do the Batocera build today. It just seems to be the most complete one for a beta. So let's take a look at that. All right, now that we got our space all cleaned up and we tested everything out, we made sure it all worked with the stock OS, we are going to check out our Batocera card that we loaded up. So my recommendation would be to pull both cards out, to be honest with you, just to make sure nothing wrong happens. It's going to do the Batocera install for us, so you don't want to have anything crazy happening during that time. Now you do have 2 ports down here. You have in 1 and in 2. So int is internal, 2 is external. So what we're going to do here, and now that we got those other cards taken out, is we're going to put this right here in slot 1, and we are going to let it install. And again, I like it to pull out that other memory card just to make sure it doesn't do something crazy like overwrite it or something else. By the way, does anybody else think that this is the power button every time they try to turn on their 35XX-H? We're going to let this install. This won't take real long. Yours may take a little bit longer. I have run it before. I just didn't update on my card, more or less. I do have an issue where it tends to get stuck in this weird loading screen sometimes. And again, this is beta software. Now we just play kind of a waiting game while we wait for it to boot up. I've seen worse. All right, so now we're in. So this looks a lot different than your stock operating system. So if you've ever used Batocera before, it's just a front end. So we have that going for us. So now if we want to put in our other card, I typically do a reboot, but you can actually just reboot Batocera itself. We could do this here. We could put it in. Then if you just want to hit that start button, restart system. And it should just restart Batocera. Now it might take a little bit longer because it is reading through that games list. This is where I get stuck usually. It is in this collections screen. See if it keeps rebooting. There it goes. So now it actually has everything set up the way that I had it set up. So here is our Batocera build. Kind of a fun little build. I do like this theme here. It does a pretty decent job of, having your games and everything on here. And if you do have them scraped, you will see everything on here for where they're scraped, which is nice. I do like the artwork. I know there is a mustard OS out there too. Not for me so much because I like to see my box art, but I like the idea behind it. You do have all those fun options that you normally have where you got your retro achievements. You have any other changes you need to make to retro art you can do without entering retro art. This actually has a retro treatment menu. It'll show you your achievements in each different game that you're playing. It'll let you know if they're on here or not. I believe if you go through the menus, you can set it up so that you can see your achievements in the menus too, which is pretty cool. An old Batocera trick, a little hipper version. Now, I'm not completely sold on this build yet. It's not against the developers. It just, I don't think it's quite there yet. And for the first time ever, Anbernic has actually been doing updates. Kind of freaking me out a little bit, but they've been actually updating the stock operating system, and it's working pretty well. See there, I just hit the function button, and now that button doesn't do anything anymore. In this OS, I don't believe it uses that function button at all, if I remember correctly. We hooked up your buttons, we hooked up your Hall sticks, and we hooked up your software. I think that we did a significant job in turning this into a 35XX-H Pro. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this kind of content, let me know that as well. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Check out one of these other videos over here. YouTube says that you're going to like them, and they're never wrong, so you should probably check them out and see if it's something you're into. And while you're checking out one of those videos, I'm going to be over here playing on my new 35XX-H Pro. What, son? Thanks for your time today, guys and gals. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.